Ayo, what's up guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're gonna talk about how to escape gold. So if you're gold or you wanna get to gold or you wanna get through gold all the way up to plat, I will give you some tips to make it slightly easier for you to escape gold elo. So once again, if you guys didn't know, I basically did a challenge where I went from iron 4 all the way up to, at the moment, gold 1 promos with 100 wins and only 3 losses. And we're basically gonna be talking about how to escape gold. So I've been playing in gold elo. We ended up playing in like plat elo all the way up here. Or playing like low plat high gold basically. And the mistakes that I saw gold players do, both for my team but also the enemy team, is the fact that they don't really understand matchups. So if you're having a rough time understanding the matchups, you should go to websites like UGG and basically look up tier lists. And you should basically look here, like all the champions. And let's say we go to jungle. And then let's just choose the last patch, because this patch just came out. So let's say that you are playing Vi jungle. You can then go into the matchup section and then you can see pretty much what matchups Vi are winning and what matchups Vi is losing. And then simply from that, you kind of like want to see like, do you want to force a fight on your opponent or do you not want to force a fight on your opponent? Another thing you could go is that you can go to op2gg and you can basically go to the champion section. Look up your own champion. So for me, it would be Kha'Zix. Choose Kha'Zix, and then where is the game base? Is that just not a thing anymore? Oh, here. Then you go to trends, and then you basically go scroll down to win rate by game length, and then as you can see, Kha'Zix actually wins the longer the game goes. So for Kha'Zix, you don't really want to be playing too much for a super fast-paced game. You kind of want to go for a mid, even to late game kind of playstyle in order to win the game. You should then do the same thing for your opponent. So let's say we're playing Kha'Zix against the Vi. So we find Vi, then we go into trends. And then we can see, okay, so Vi is actually also stronger in mid game. Then she falls out a bit in the late game, but then super late game, she's actually a strong pick again. So she almost has the same kind of like win rate or like core item or power spike at the same stage of the game as Kha'Zix. So then you know that. But we knew from this that I basically, as you can see, Vi wins 44.7% against Kha'Zix for Diamond Elo and above. So this means that Kha'Zix should win, and this basically means that I know my power spikes, but I also know my opponent's power spikes. This way I know when I can actually fight Vi, where she's actually weak, compared to where she's actually strong, and she actually has a bigger chance of winning. So that's the first thing I see gold players doing. The second thing is that I see players really hardcore autopiloting. So, what does this mean? It basically means that you pretty much played the same way every single game, which is not a good thing. So, autopiloting basically means that you're playing on a 60 to 70% performance. So you're not playing at your best, but you're not performing bad either. You're just like playing above average. The reason why this is not good is the fact that you are not actually paying too much attention to the game. So as soon as you get into loading screen, what you want to do is you want to look up both your team but also the enemy team. So let's take a look. We are basically taking a look at this game. So I have Kennen top lane against Zed top lane. This basically means that we have the range advantage for top. I also know that I can gank this lane because Zed doesn't have any escapes, and I have a stun set up from Kennen. Same thing goes for Zoe. This basically means that I have, again, range advantage against Diana. And I also have a gank setup with basically Zoe being able to put Diana to sleep with her E. And we have bot lane where we have MF and we have Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks main engage is probably at level 6. So I would look for a gank on bot lane at level 6. So I would basically like look what lanes are actually strong, which lanes do I expect to push or at least like win lane, and what lanes do I expect to either need some help or actually lose the lane, and then I'll play for the winning side of the map. So in this situation it will be top and mid, and then once enemy bot lane or my bot lane hits level 6, I could look for a gank on bot lane. This doesn't mean that you have to ignore bot lane all the game for all the early game. You can always gank bot lane if they like overextend or something, but for the main purpose, if everything goes as planned, I should be camping my top and mid lane, and later into the game I could go for a gank on bot side of the map. So basically like this works pretty much for all lanes. You pretty much want to like look at your matchup. So let's say you're playing lane instead of jungle, so let's say you're playing mid lane. So when you're playing mid lane, you most likely know your champion, but you also want to understand the matchup. And the reason why the matchup is so important is because some champions are really weak in the early game, and some champions are really weak in late game, and some champions are strong mid game, weak late game, stuff like that. So you basically want to know when does your champion have power spikes, which you most likely know, but you necessarily don't know when the enemy has their power spike. And basically looking up this type of stuff will basically help you look when they have their power spikes. Also, when you know the matchup, you basically, instead of autopiling, what you would most likely do is you would pick a champion and you would play the same way every single game, no matter your matchup, which is really bad. So let's say that you're playing an assassin, and let's say you're playing against first a melee matchup where you can pretty much walk up. It's melee to melee, so you can always trade auto attacks, and you win that game, and then you go into the next game where you're playing against a control mates, which is ranged. If you don't adapt to the fact that you're now playing against a ranged champion compared to the previous game where you played against a melee champion, well then you'll lose lane quite hard and make the game 10 times harder for yourself for absolutely no reason. So you always want to pay attention to the team comps, and especially who you're playing against, like what champion, and basically knowing their power spikes, and basically how the matchup should go. So in some matchups you want to play aggro in early game, and some matchups you want to play defensively in early game. And basically all the time adapt to like the matchup and the team comp and what basically your win condition is. The next thing is that players don't pay attention to the game pace. So what do I mean by this? So let's say that you are playing mid lane and you're playing with a top laner who's playing a split push champion. Let's say he's playing Jax, and he gets a fast early tower. Most players will just be like, oh, you know what? That's great, he got the first tower, and then they don't really do anything about it. Well, pretty much what you want to do is you want to try to get your jungler to play for the top side of the map to help you, your top laner push even further while you're also playing aggro but without dying, so that your top laner can keep pushing because he's winning the lane. So if you have a winning lane, you don't have to risk winning the lane or losing the lane, like basically trying to go for a kill, if you're already having one side of the map winning. What does this basically mean? So this means that if you have a winning top laner, you don't necessarily have to win mid lane. You can just go even mid lane and play around your top lane in order to win the game. That is a better strategy than for you risking to go to actually try and win mid in a 50-50 situation where you could either win or lose. It's better to just play passive and play for your top laner who's playing good. So basically play for the lane who is doing good, and don't risk winning or losing your own lane to help them. Just help them by playing passively, and help them out by like rotating, help them ward, or help them by having pressure without dying. Anything like that will basically help them carry the game. So it's okay to some games get carried by your teammates instead of having to risk like your laning phase and then having their mid lane, like let's say you lose mid lane but you have a winning top lane. If you lose mid lane super hard, you still have a chance of losing compared to if you just played like passively. Then your top laner would be ahead and you would be even with mid lane, and if you're helping a top lane, he would be super far ahead and he would basically carry the game. So all the time look at the game pace, so you could like, okay, how many kills does the enemy team have? How many kills do we have? Basically like all the time like adapt to the game pace, So if the game is really fast, don't risk too many things and just play around your teammates. But let's say that you have 2 losing lanes and you're even in mid lane. Most likely the only way that you are going to win the game is by you having to hard carry your lane and then carry the other lanes by winning your lane super hard and then rotating. So if your lanes are really hardcore losing, then it's the time where you want to risk and see, okay, this is my time to try and win at least my lane, and then maybe we can win the game throughout my lane. So again, pay attention to how many kills, how many objectives do you have, the enemy team have, what's actually happening around the map, and not only in your lane. This way you're gonna have an easier time climbing. Then there are 2 things that I noticed when I played in gold. Another thing is that people don't respect opponents from behind. So in all of these games, I'm pretty much like stomping my opponent. I'm like winning jungle every single game. My top laner is also winning his lane every single game. And we realized that our opponents never respected us. They kind of played the same way as if they were like even or if they were ahead when they're super far behind. So this basically meant that it was super easy for us to just farm up kills for free and just get even more gold and get even further ahead. So pay attention to whenever you're actually behind, and then don't look for plays, just farm up until you are again stronger, and then you have a chance to actually fight your opponent. So don't just fight for the sake of fighting, but only choose to fight when you are ahead or you actually know that you can win. And don't fight from behind, wait for your opponent to throw instead and overextend, and then basically like punish them for doing a mistake. Then the last thing that I saw in gold elo that was quite noticeable is that people are not being proactive enough. They were only good at being reactive. So this basically means that people were not really that good at, for my case, ganking, but they were slightly better at counter ganking or doing a counter move basically. So this basically means that I had a lot of games where I could basically do whatever I wanted to without being contested. But then my opponent would basically do something on the opposite side of the map, or basically do a play on the different side of the map, or a counter gank to try and make up for it. So what you want to do in gold, in my opinion, is that you should basically be looking for more proactive plays, which means more ganking, more trading, more roaming, stuff like that. Basically look for plays more instead of just only waiting for your opponent to make a play and counter him. So those were like the 4 or 5 tips that I could give you guys in gold, and those were like the main mistakes that we saw in gold. A lot of gold players basically did this, so I think if you basically like pay attention to these things and actually pay attention to your games, especially the game pace and matchups, you'll basically have a way easier time winning throughout gold and get to plat super easily. So I hope you learned something. I hope that you can realize that you are maybe doing some of these mistakes, even though you might not even in gold elo. But yeah, I hope you'll basically pay attention to these things and fix your mistakes and be climbing a little bit easier in your solo queue games. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. If you wanna know how to escape platinum, which will be the next video, remember to subscribe and stay tuned. And then the next video on how to escape plat will be out very soon. Otherwise, check out my live stream over at twitch.tv/Kami_Kha'Zix. I'm streaming almost every single day over there, playing on different regions, playing in different elos, basically being very informative about how to win in the jungle, and sometimes also playing other stuff than only Kha'Zix. So if you're a jungle player or you just wanna see me stream some League or play some League or learn from me, definitely check out my my Twitch. So yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys here on my next live stream or in my next YouTube video. So, see you guys.